Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Search Engine Journey webinar. Today, we're going to be joined by Mike and Elizabeth from Milestone. We're going to be talking about a whole slew of CMS features to increase traffic, revenue from mobile, schema, voice, and direct answers. It's going to be a lot of really good information. I think you're going to really enjoy, kind of going through this webinar and learning all of these different tactics and things you can kind of employ into your different CMS and your different marketing strategies. So my name's Francis Torres. I'll be moderating. Before I jump into the housekeeping, kind of talk about some of the rules and regulations of this whole process, I'm going to let Mike and Elizabeth take a moment just to tell us a little bit about themselves and the company. Go ahead, guys.
Hi, thanks, Brent. Appreciate it. So, I'm Mike Supple. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at Milestone. My background is for many years in various aspects of digital marketing and products. I've been with Milestone for about 9.5 years, and my role within Milestone is I get to work with our SaaS platform, a suite of products all aimed at different areas of digital marketing. Obviously, a core component of that platform is the CMS, so we'll be looking forward to talking through how we approach that, what we do there, and working with you all today. So I'll hand it over to Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Dalrymple. I've been with Marriott for a little over 3 years on a team called Digital Services. Our team operates as an internal digital agency focusing on hotel-level digital activation programs. I'm currently a manager on a relatively new team within Digital Services called Digital Studio. We've partnered with Milestone to power innovative off-platform solutions to meet the unique marketing needs of Marriott hotels. So I'm excited to talk through our product portfolio a little bit later in the presentation as I outline some of the key features of a content management system that have been the most impactful for our team.
Beautiful. So driving into some of the rules and regulations, not a ton of stuff here, but if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to ask that's appropriate, there is a question box in the webinar system on the side there. You can also tag us on, if you want to tag on Twitter, or if you want to, shoot around through social, we'll also be picking up on that. You can always hashtag SEJ Think Tank, and we'll track that. And we'll gather questions from there, but through the webinar is probably the best option for you at this moment. We will have a poll, one or two through the webinar, so we will pause and throw those up. That's an opportunity for you to kind of give us a little bit of feedback, give us a little bit of a direction, helps the speakers kind of direct where they're going, spend the time diving a little deeper, and it also helps us understand some of the Q&A that's going to come at the end of the presentation. We will, as I just mentioned, have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, ask them along the way. I don't want you to forget your questions. We will track all those questions and ask those at the end, though. We'll do our best during the entire webinar to kind of post any resources. So if we mention any tools or mention anything through the different presentation, we'll try to link those. If we miss something, just ask us for it, and we'll try to make sure we get it to you. And everything that we talk about, there's going to be a video, there's going to be an audio, there's going to be everything in a recap post, which is typically posted the next Monday. So you should see that by Monday. So without any further delay, I'll let Mike and Elizabeth dive in. Go ahead, guys.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. So I just wanted to start with a quick background, high level of Milestone for those of you who aren't familiar with us, just to put in a little bit of perspective as to our approach to a CMS platform and how we think that can benefit any business. So high level of Milestone, we were founded in 1997. So about a 20-year-old company here. Our focus is driving leads and traffic from digital. So what makes us unique, we're a digital platform combined with award-winning agency services. So that gives us full accountability of performance from the build through the complete execution. And really, because of this deep background, we have a strong understanding of the digital space to really help us position our software to ensure that that meets the customer requirements across many verticals. So as you can see, we're founded focusing on a hospitality vertical, but have grown significantly and helped provide solutions in many different areas, particularly from the CMS standpoint. Again, I'm focusing a lot on how we can meet the needs of location-based businesses, whether that's in hospitality, retail, restaurant, automotive, healthcare, banking and finance, and then also with corporate websites. Ensuring that visibility is there, the needs, the unique features required for both site structure and then what their end consumers are looking for are there in CMS platform and then needs being met. So that's our background, kind of our approach and what we take into account when we're putting together software platforms and services. So that being said, I actually wanted to kick this off with a poll question here and just kind of get a lay of the land to see a little bit of what people are working with today.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll right now. Which CMS system are you currently using? Are you using WordPress? Are you using Adobe Sitecore, Joomla, or something else other? So again, we're looking to find out what kind of CMS system you're currently using for your website, or maybe for your company's website, or maybe even what you're used to working with. WordPress, Adobe Sitecore, Joomla, or other. We'll give a couple more minutes, not a couple more minutes, but at least a couple more seconds to let a couple, everybody get a chance to vote in. And interesting. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now and show the results. That way everybody can see. We had about 50% WordPress, which kind of makes sense to me, but I'm really curious now to see what some of the other stuff was. So maybe if you guys want to throw in comments, we'd love to kind of hear a little bit about what some of the other platforms you might be using are. And then other than that, I will go ahead and hide the results and let you dive back in, Mike.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Perfect. Yeah, I do find that interesting. It's WordPress in around 50%. I think as of last year, latest stats saw the WordPress about 30% or more of the web is built on WordPress. So always interesting to see where that's going. I think every CMS and a lot of CMS platforms out there, they all have strengths and things that they work well on. So always looking to see what works for people and where their opportunities are. I wanted to start though, stepping back one moment of looking at why are we talking through this? Why is the CMS important? Just make sure that we're all on the same page. So for the purpose of this discussion, when we say CMS, we're talking about a content management system. It's software that allows you to create and manage your digital content. So software that enables your website and enables somebody to build and manage that website. So advantages, in general to a CMS. Things that enabling the user to really control the design and content of the site without having to know any programming. And beyond that, to be able to build and manage complex features at scale with limited resources. So not having to have a massive in-house team, but still being able to have very strong features, really meeting what your end consumer needs are. Obviously, features will vary significantly across different CMS platforms. So it's really important when building a site, when evaluating a CMS, understanding what your business needs and your end goals are, and looking for the feature set that will align with that accordingly. From our standpoint, one of the things that we often see from a CMS platform is that SEO is often an afterthought, and there can be plugins or other things you can add in to build that. But we really feel it's important to think about SEO and search engine optimization up front with how you're building your website. Reason being, in particular, we're seeing a lot of larger companies heavily investing in SEO technology, and so having the right CMS platform that does a lot of that things for you can help you level that playing field. Just as an example, talking about the monsters in the industry, particularly from a hospitality standpoint, Booking.com you're seeing has a significant SEO visibility. They're investing heavily and putting a lot of resources and effort into their search engine optimization, and this is just representative of a lot of the large players across all verticals. And so this is an area that you want to make sure that you are strong in as well. Having a platform that'll do it for you or do a lot of it with you enables you to be strong in those areas without having to be an expert in all of that. So again, that's kind of a basis what we'll be talking about today. A lot of where the features come from, and focusing back on what is it that you need, what is it that your business needs are, and then aligning those against these top features. So from that, going into what we're seeing here as the top 10 things to look at when you're looking at a CMS platform, looking at ways to drive revenue and drive conversions for your business. For us, number one is built-in SEO. So there are a lot of elements that go into on-page search engine optimization. Some of them are straightforward, some of them are complicated. A big challenge to this area is that it is always changing. Google is often changing their algorithm of what they look at, what's important, what will help you rank. Google is obviously not the only search engine. All the others, Bing and Baidu, depending on what region you're in, all have their own rules and algorithms. So understanding what those are, understanding that your site needs to be built to meet those needs is really important. And the reason why is you could have the prettiest site in the world, but it can't convert for you if users can't find it. And so because SEO is a moving target, we want to make sure that you have a platform, a CMS, that can change with and stay ahead of the latest technology needs so that you can maintain visibility from your website standpoint without having to be an expert in SEO. Again, there's a lot of things that go into that, but some of the core items that we look at and things that we bake into a platform, making sure that your site is optimized for speed is a big thing. That is one of the most important things from SEO today, the most important things for being visible. So we'll get into more details and some of the other features for that later in the webinar. But also, just making sure that your site is crawlable. Can the search engines find it? Can they read the data? Do they understand how it's built? Do they understand how your pages link to each other, how the content is structured, etc.? So making sure you're crawlable. And then taking that to the next level, not only is it crawlable, but is it understandable? Is your content legible? The text, the media, can the search engines really understand what you're presenting about yourself so that when people are searching and querying, your content is relevant for those queries? So thinking through, is this something that your platform does? Do you have to be a programmer to know how to insert HTML coding and header tags and all those? Or will a platform help you do that? And all you just need to be responsible for is putting in your content and it does it for you. So looking for that and having that built-in SEO as a core principle and core part of the CMS really goes a long way in helping you as somebody building the site, not having to worry about those things and make sure that you are upfront on that. Diving a little bit deeper into the SEO elements, I want to talk a little bit about Schema, schema.org, and structured data, and how that impacts your visibility. So Schema today is currently sort of one of the single biggest factors in ensuring that you are visible, that your content is found, that people can find you when they're searching for things. What is Schema? Schema is just a way to mark up or structure your data so that search engines can understand the context of who you are, what you do, and all of the elements of your business. So what that really means is that behind the scenes, there's HTML code, different ways to program your site so that instead of just having a content block, you are explicitly telling search engines, my business is called this. We are specifically located at a particular geographic coordinate. We offer a certain product or special. Here are the details around it. So that's, again, structuring from the back end. And what that results in the front end is what a structured data piece looks like, particularly from a search perspective. I'm sure you've all seen when in your day-to-day usage of the internet, more and more of these what we call position zero rankings, results that are coming up in the search above the traditional organic listings. A large portion of these position zero rankings are driven by content that is wrapped in with structured data and schema markup. And the reason for that is Google wants to serve the best answer. The better they can understand your content and what you do, the more likely it is that you will be the best answer. And so wrapping your content with structured data, making sure that you have schema around all of your content enables you to be relevant for those specific queries, those longer tail queries, those things that your consumers are actually looking for. Schema is constantly growing and changing, like all other parts of digital marketing. So if you're unfamiliar with Schema, you go to schema.org. It's a site you can visit just to see the high-level details around that, and also the full sort of taxonomy for the entire thing. Since this is such a critical piece of SEO, I want to make sure that this is something that you build into your site. And looking for, again, with our platform baked into it from the beginning, is the point being that as a user, all you need to know is here's my content, here's my my package, my special, or my things to do in the area. These are things I have for sale. These are the reviews, what people are saying about us. Your content goes into the site, and in the back end, the structured data is wrapped and tagged automatically so that you are then relevant and visible. And so looking for a platform that does this for you, obviously, again, takes the heavy lifting off. You don't even have to know what schema is. Your content suddenly is wrapped. You're much more relevant. You're much more visible. And aside from that, so where you're thinking future forward and why schema will continue to matter more, is this also has a big impact on, as the web is growing, with voice search. So again, for voice search to work, as you're sure, when you ask for something, often you're only going to get one answer back, which means Google, whether it's Google, Apple, Amazon, they're all looking for that one single right answer. And for them to really do that, they'll need to understand the context of the web. And so by wrapping your content, by having structured data integrated into your platform, making sure that all of your content, what you put in there, is wrapped in schema, you are more able to be understood as an entity by the different search engines. Therefore, your information can be served, whether it's a desktop query, a mobile query, a voice query, any of those reasons. So really having structured data is a core piece of being visible, staying ahead of the search game, and making sure that you are out there. So bringing to our third point, mobile is obviously a critical piece of the internet today. I think we all know, we've seen the numbers growing and growing over the last few years. More and more of the internet is browsed from mobile devices. So one of the critical aspects of mobile is speed. Obviously, when users are on, not necessarily on Wi-Fi, but out on different cell networks going around, load times can be impacted. We all know that people get distracted easily these days. Google released data that 50% of consumers will leave a mobile site after 3 seconds if it doesn't load. So you really want to make sure that when you're building your site, you're doing everything you can to ensure that, yes, you have a robust user experience, but it needs to happen quickly. And so looking at how your platform does that, looking at does the CMS do things necessary to reduce the speed time. When it comes to speed, it's not just a sort of one concept of speed. There are many different pieces that search engines like Google look for. How quickly will it display? How fast does the server respond? How many server requests are there? Again, getting into the details of how Google does it, the key is to know that there are different aspects and different ways that speed is measured. So you want to make sure that your site's built, yes, it may look like it loads fast, but are you hitting these different benchmarks? Are you looking for, are you doing things that Google needs to see so that you can present your data quickly? Again, having a platform, a CMS platform that builds that in, takes that up front, so that no matter when you add a giant image, for example, to your site, will the platform correctly optimize that and resize it and serve it so it's fast regardless of the user device? All of those things will ensure that your site is fast, that you rank well, so that your users, consumers can land on that and start interacting and engaging with you and not bounce from that. Additional sort of mobile features that we want to think about, obviously, and we talked a little bit about speed. Mobile first is a term that I think everyone's familiar with at this point. It's more than just, oh, does it look good? Did I design it right? But it's more of an ethos is, am I creating an experience that will allow users to successfully do everything they need to do on my site while on the mobile device? Do I have that engagement? Do I have that clear, call to action? Am I allowing and enabling users to browse through that? Is it, is it responsive? Is it adaptive? If they navigate back for different devices, do they have a consistent experience in doing what they need to do? Again, because the digital industry is always changing, looking at what are some of the latest technologies and things that you can apply to improve and enhance your mobile experience, and does your CMS platform support these? We'll talk briefly about AMP, Accelerated Mobile Pages, in a moment. PWA is another thing. Progressive web apps is just, again, is a way to have an app-like experience on your website that loads fast without having to maintain a code base with iOS or Android. So again, if those types of things, if you have a lot of mobile consumers looking at these, do you have a platform that supports these, or would you need to have additional plugins? Having a CMS with these built in really will help with aligning your resources. I want to spend just a brief moment on AMP, just because this is a technology that was launched by Google a few years ago, is now open source. What AMP is essentially is a lightweight HTML programming, so it's a way to still have a rich, robust site without having to have as much heavy loading going on with that. And what it means is your site's loaded super fast. Google actually has gone to the level they cache them on their servers so that as soon as users click, they start to load. The point being, and Milestone was one of the first companies to integrate this into our platform, our CMS, as a native feature of the CMS. Google uses us as a case study. We've gone on roadshows and talked with them. But the point, too, when you're looking at a CMS, is your CMS adaptable? Is it flexible? Do the latest features that can impact your business get implemented in a site? Are they just chasing flashy objects, or is your CMS platform robust with features that will actually impact your business? And so we've seen significant results, positive results in terms of speed and use and engagement from these AMP sites. As a quick demo, just to again driving it home, the key you can see here, AMP sites load significantly faster. And so if I click play in here, the idea is just side by side of if a user immediately clicks from the search, how much faster an AMP site is fully loaded, while our standard mobile responsive site is still taking many seconds to load. So again, does your platform support latest technology? Are these features that you will need? Speed is important to you, and can those be done without extra effort needed from your end when it comes to mobile? All right, so I think we'll leave mobile to the side for the moment and talk a little bit about design work. Experiential design is key to conversion. So I know we started this talking about how important SEO was. I mentioned if you had the best looking site in the world, if no one can find it, it won't convert. But it's very important to also look at that flip side. Good technology doesn't mean ignoring user experience. You need to make sure that you're integrating your visuals, your interactivity, all your information really well. So ensuring that the platform you have supports your visual needs, your brand's guidelines. What is it that you're looking for? Do you need it to be responsive? Do you need what elements will you need to go in there to support broad sweeping designs, or are there limitations across that? So making sure that your platform supports your brand needs so that it can display your experience to your consumers as well as possible. So that's a key part of your CMS, being able to support that piece. Changing speeds a little bit here, I want to talk about what other things can a CMS have that can enable you to stay visible, to be stand out a little bit from your competitors, to have different opportunities there. One of the things that we see is having a big positive impact across our sites, especially with sites that have a local presence, a local business entity, is having a strong events calendar. So within our platform, we built a dynamic calendar that automatically sort of publishes and pulls in content relevant to the business and to your potential consumers. And so integrating the key pieces of a calendar is to have a space where you can put things that are happening in your area so that you can give you opportunities to network with local businesses that may have overlap in consumers with you. But from a search standpoint, you think about Google and others are looking for fresh content. They're looking for new things on your site. It may be difficult to constantly come up with new pages of content for your site every day. Whereas if you talk about relevant local events are always happening and always moving. So it's a way to keep things fresh on your site, keep showing that you're relevant, you're new, adding in that content. Key being relevancy. You want to make sure that you have things that are relevant to your business and your consumers. And this also ties back into the discussion about schema and structured data. Events are a big piece of schema. A lot of people search the internet for things going on near them in their areas, when they're traveling, when they're at home. And so wrapping events in schema is a great way to have your business be relevant for local intent queries. And so again, with our platform, all you need to do is maintain the event content. The platform automatically wraps it with schema so that you can be relevant for these local events. We've seen significant impact to these of ranking small businesses and local properties ranking well above massive ticket aggregators and things because of the structured data, because Google's able to understand the content so much better from a platform that has schema than others. And also, but we know that maintaining an event calendar can be a difficult task too. So looking for having the ability to have content automatically populate based on business categories and radius and things that are relevant to your business. So it gives you just a unique opportunity, a way to stay relevant to your local audience and to stay relevant on an ongoing basis to search engines. Of course, no discussion about top items of a CMS platform would be complete without talking about the ease of use. Again, going back to the original points of why do we need a CMS? A big piece of that is to be able to maintain your site without having to know a lot of programming. So look at the key features. What are the types of things that you will be editing on a regular basis for your site? And is it easy to do that? Can you quickly access all the content, whether it's the media, the text, the videos, the imagery, whatever it is that you need to do? Can you access that quickly? Do you have the ability to change the look and feel of things from within the platform, or do you have to have all of your assets in a certain format before you can bring them? So looking for that flexibility, making sure that you can do and change what you need to within there. Also, when we're talking about the mobile discussion, obviously it can be very difficult to manage a full website from your mobile device. So most of the time, if you're updating a site, you're going to be doing it from a desktop, but making sure that they're looking at things like mobile emulators. If I make changes in my site, do I know what that will look like? Will that have an impact on the mobile device? And seeing, is that a part of the platform? So knowing what pieces are important to you, knowing how frequently what you'll be editing, does your platform support that to make it easy for you, your team, to get in there and really change those things quickly. All right. So, looking at a compliance standpoint, so it seems to be there are a lot of privacy concerns, importance of accessibility. There's a lot of compliance and conformance regulations that are being layered onto all businesses. And so, what that means is, when it comes to building your site, you need to think through: is your site not only meeting your business needs, but meeting your consumer needs and meeting any latest legal needs? So that's something that does your platform do that out of the box for you. So as of today, we're looking at things like the WCAG Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. A short piece, if anyone's been following the news, the Supreme Court a couple of days ago declined to hear an appeal from Domino's Pizza. Domino's was being sued for not having an accessible website or or mobile application. They tried to bring this to the Supreme Court, saying, no, we shouldn't be able to be sued for this. Supreme Court declined to hear it, which means that it is eligible, that the ADA rules can apply to sites, and that these lawsuits can come. So I know we've seen a lot of these in many years. I think now that the Supreme Court has declined to hear, saying, yes, these lawsuits can go ahead, we may see more of that. So knowing that you have these accessibility guidelines built into your platform is very important. There's a lot of things that can be done to help make sure your site is accessible to everybody. Again, it can be very challenging to stay on top of these yourself. So having that as something that's built into the platform that does it for you automatically can help ensure you are both staying within guidelines and presenting your content to all potential consumers in the pieces they need. Then you also look at things like GDPR for the European privacy guidelines, the upcoming California guidelines that are very similar, making sure that you're meeting all of those pieces from a platform standpoint. Is the data protected? Can the users have the right to be forgotten? All of those. So are these things that you'll want to look for a CMS platform that supports these? Otherwise, you'll end up having to go back and add those in after the fact. And again, what does the platform have? Particularly, does it have ongoing reporting, ongoing checks? Making sure that as you change things, modify, update your site, are you staying conformant or within compliance or conformance levels? If something goes out of conformance, are you notified? Can you fix that quickly and easily? So just having the platform do that for you takes that layer of weight off of your shoulders and allows you to focus on your content and building your best site. Yeah. Obviously, building a website is a very important piece of it, but knowing what works and what doesn't is also critical to enabling you to take that next step to continuous improvement, continuing to ensure that you are converting, your site is working and meeting your business needs. So looking at a platform that integrates that can really help drive those business needs. So does your platform track core metrics that matter to you? Can you get reports generated out of that, or do you have to rely on third-party tools and put those reports together manually? So having that full integrated view, if you're a multi-location business, being able to roll up many locations into one report and getting that big picture visibility really enables you to save time in preparing ongoing reports, allows you to make faster business decisions that can impact your day-to-day business, so having to spend time putting that all together. So thinking of that, even though it may oftentimes seem like it's outside of your website, thinking about that from the beginning. When you build a site, will it have this built-in reporting? Will you be able to access this ongoing? Can really help that overall sort of cost of ownership and impact on your business. And of course, another piece of that is within this reporting, does your platform also allow you to compare key metrics against your top competitors? So ensuring that you're able to not just looking at how you're performing, but that you can look at industry benchmarks and named competitors as well, and pull that into your reporting right from within the platform. Allows you to focus on what's relevant, focus on your opportunities, and really drive your message home to your consumers. And when you're building and hosting a site, obviously if you can't access it all the time to edit it, then that may be more of a challenge. If your users can't access it and use it, that's often a challenge. One of the things we look for is a site or CMS platform that will support built-in content delivery networks. So if you're unfamiliar with a CDN, content delivery, a traditional setting of a web server is you have your website hosted on a server in a particular location in the world. Everybody in the world that accesses that pulls it from the same server. So based on where they are, there may be different latency and times of it takes to get the data back. Whereas when you have a CDN, you have essentially cached versions of your site all over the world, so that when someone tries to go to your website at www.mysite.com, it will load from the server that's closest to them, so that your site is always faster loading and pulls in quicker. There are a lot of other pieces from a CDN that add value to your site. So uptime, again, since you have copies of the site cached all over the place, if for some reason something happens to any given server, your site isn't down, it can just go and pull it from the next server. So you get that constant uptime. From a security standpoint too, CDNs help protect your site from many different types of potential malicious attacks, and ensuring that you are constantly visible and available with uninterrupted service to your end consumers, so they can always be consuming your content and engaging with you. So I think we'll bring us to our final point of our top 10 is you really do want to think about beyond the broad core capabilities of a CMS platform, and does it meet the broad business needs? Do you have vertical specific needs, and are those needs met by different features within the platform or not? So, of course, many different industries all have specific things that they may be looking for. But, translation support. Does your business, do you do business in different parts of the world, and can the platform automatically translate things for you, or at the very least support multi-language pieces? So, having that workflow built within your CMS so that you can support those different languages is very important. Whether it's in retail or other areas, shopping cart abandonment, you have ways of recapturing or re-engaging those users that for whatever reason may have chosen to leave your site. In restaurant industry, does the platform natively connect and support reservation platform integration, so that you can be you don't have to be worrying about you have a great site experience, but then someone leaves your site to make a reservation and may drop off. Can you do that all within the platform? Things like in finance and automotive, can you set appointments and have those requests fully within the platform and manage that completely? Does your CMS support integrations with full car inventory systems, so that you don't have to worry about maintaining inventory on a website in addition to your main inventory? It can all speak and do it dynamically. Same with CRM integrations, so your customer data be integrated in there so that you can have more impactful marketing plans and content sites that you're building. E-commerce, does the platform support those direct integrations, again, so you control that entire shopping experience from within that site? Can you build a rich store locator page and have a robust, detailed experience? Again, does the platform support that in scale? So as you add or remove locations, the platform integrates and builds those automatically for you, so that your needs are met. You can focus on your business priorities, and that the website focuses on meeting those needs. Do you need members-only sections? Can the platform support login pieces so that you have areas that are accessible only to members? So again, understand these are just obviously just a handful of the pieces, but think through what are your vertical specific things, and does the platform have a feature that will meet that out of the box, so that you don't need to worry about sort of longer term additional investment needs. And really putting that all together is, so what do all of these sort of 10 points drive to is you want to look at what is your total cost of ownership when you're evaluating a CMS, because your website is one piece of it. There are many features and things that you will need to go in and out to have to create a robust, fast, high converting, engaging experience for your end consumers. So knowing what the critical capabilities are of the site that you're wanting to build, and does the platform support that? Do you need to have it native in the platform? Are there external plugins? Will those cost more? Will they take more programming effort or not? And if, does your platform, does the CMS platform support latest technology? Is it flexible? So if new needs arise, will it adapt to that, or will you, start being behind the curve because of that platform? Using that built-in functionality, will that be cheaper than a la carte? Anything that isn't built in, you'll have to figure out how you add that in later with people and programming. So worrying about how you can support that. Can you support the key areas that you need to? Do you need a technical support team or not? If your A/B testing is important, how does the platform do that, and is it usable for you to do it? How are you going to generate those reports and making sure that you can look at your success and your opportunities? So understanding what is your needs and looking at those tendencies, are those things met by your platform to be able to deliver that robust experience for you, so that you have the right site, and the right user experience, and the right sort of conversion elements. So I think with that, we're going to go ahead into our next poll. And if you can
awesome. Real quick note before we drive into the poll, a lot of really great information there, Mike, especially things like, the Supreme Court's doing the ADA thing. That's a huge thing, right? Schema is becoming super, super complicated, and it's really almost impossible to do it by hand anymore. You absolutely need a CMS that can handle it. I mean, these are really, really current points, and for anybody that's listening, just, this is really great information. So jumping into this last poll, I'll launch it up real quick. When do you think you might switch content management systems? This happens all the time, right? And people are constantly changing CMSs, changing websites, looking at new technology. Are you currently in need of a new CMS or website? Are you maybe looking in the next couple months, maybe in a year, or I just switched and I'm not really looking to switch, Again, when do you think you might switch content management systems? Currently looking for one, maybe in a couple months, maybe in a year, or I actually just already switched. One of the things I think is interesting while we're waiting, I'll throw out there is that, Google's really changing the way that they render and index sites, right? So now they're using the render bot a lot more, which is causing a lot of the Java elements, even when you don't have a JavaScript site itself, are getting merged into the site. So you're starting to see a lot of issues come up from JavaScript SEO that has to do with a lot with your CMS and a lot with your website. So I think that one of the things that, even John Mueller has kind of said recently from Google is that, development and your CMS is probably going to be one of your most important elements of SEO going forward. So definitely a very, very current topic to be talking about. Okay, I got enough in these polls. I'm gonna go ahead and show the results real quick. About maybe in a year, and some people have already switched. So definitely some interesting data there. Definitely something to take away from, and I'll let you guys dive back in.
All right. So I think at this point we'll go ahead and hand it over to Elizabeth and let her talk through what Marriott's using.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Gonna take you past the presenter role.
Yeah, you should be able to go ahead and start sharing.
Alrighty. Let that load. All right, so thanks, Mike. Over the next few slides, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to spend some time talking about a few of the CMS features that Mike mentioned and how they've been impactful for our team here at Marriott. So within Digital Studio, we have three main product sets that I'll touch on today. Our outlet site product offers a cost-effective website solution for hotel F&B and spa outlets that have a strong local source market. So these are best for outlets that have a wide target audience and want to be able to market themselves independently from their hotel. We also have custom web and collection sites that are managed by our team's client engagement managers. So both of these are fully custom. Our custom web product provides an off-platform solution for above property teams, regional teams, and for hotels who have digital needs that m.com cannot meet. Our standalone websites are available to collection brand hotels. So through these sites, we can really showcase the hotel's unique brand and story. But by developing them through our team, we can also adhere to compliance regulations as well. So as mentioned earlier, we had a need within Marriott to create quick to market, compliant, and creative web solutions. So we were tasked with creating these best-in-class products that met a variety of needs, as you just saw through our product portfolio. So we are a small team here in Digital Studio, and so it was critical that these solutions were also scalable. So the CMS allowed us to launch products to clients with varying levels of website development experience, and it also has enabled us internally to continually maintain and enhance each product as we define and redefine our requirements. So among the many benefits of a CMS, these are the 6 key features that have been the most beneficial to us. And I'll touch on each of these in the next few slides. So as a part of integration efforts last year, we had roughly 320 outlet sites that we needed to launch in Q4 of 2018. But we also wanted to be open for new business and intake new requests starting in early 2019. So this graph demonstrates that we were able to meet those requirements, showing a steep growth at the beginning, so through the end of 2018, and then a steady increase in our numbers starting in January. So this number, you can see here, 630, this number does include our translation sites. So this means that if a site had 2 different languages, they are accounted for here. So we have roughly 430 unique outlet sites to date. However, each translation is built as an individual site, so that makes it important to include that number here in this graph. So with the CMS, we were able to launch these sites efficiently and at scale because we could create a templated solution that we could reproduce for each new site build. So while we were able to create this quick to market solution, how did we prevent ourselves from ending up with 430 sites that all look exactly the same? So we did that by making it easy for clients to adapt the look and feel of their sites. So this is critical for this particular product as each outlet has specific branding wishes or requirements, and so being able to change the overall look of the site is important to the hotel's need to market themselves independently. So a CMS allowed us internally to retain the structure of our outlet site offering, but also allows the clients to modify their aesthetic. They can change the font, color, and background, small changes that have a dramatic effect for the overall feel of the site. And additionally, our CMS allows clients to make critical design changes while not disrupting the functionality of the site. So they can repurpose pages and choose to activate or deactivate carousels depending on their content needs, but this will not impact how the site functions once the changes are published. So here are 3 examples of our outlet sites. So while you can see the basic structure similarities across all 3, you can also see the independent branding choices that the hotels have made. So different backgrounds, font choices, and colors to adapt the overall look and feel of their site. So on the other side, we have our fully custom sites that don't follow a templated structure. A lot of our collection hotels have very specific brand stories that do not pull through to Marriott.com, and so they need a very visual, experience-heavy site that you can see in this example. The main goal, though, is still conversion. So all of our sites are integrated with Marriott's booking system. So that book now, or that booking button that you're seeing in the left corner, once a user selects their dates, they are redirected to Marriott's booking system. So we have that seamlessly integrated within all of our collection sites. And you can see through these just quick snapshots that we were able to pull in this hotel's specific brand requirements. So the colors, the fonts, if you do scroll through this site, you can see sort of race car motion, parallax features that really add to the overall feel of the site, in addition to making it a very functional and information heavy homepage. So this snapshot here at the beginning shows the event calendar. So Mike talked through the benefits of this implementation. And so here's a live example of where we've pulled the feed into the homepage. So by clicking that CTA that says view the full events calendar, you're directed to the full events calendar, but here you're given just a snapshot of some of the key events, key and upcoming events in Daytona Beach. So moving on to the next feature, self-service. So this has been really important for us, as I mentioned, in our efforts to scale our product portfolio and be able to deliver products to varying levels of to clients with varying levels of marketing and digital experience. So clients are able to make these copy and imagery and carousel updates without requiring programming assistance. And also another benefit of the CMS is that it allows for multiple users. So many of our hotels have multiple people who are responsible for their marketing efforts. And so having a CMS allows each individual to manage content and imagery. We can also track users and manage roles and publishing permissions through a CMS as well. Arguably most important for our clients is that these updates are appearing in real time. So this is beneficial for content around specials, weekly menu items, promotions, etc., which for our product lines, most of our clients are keen on incorporating that information into their site and being able to continuously make changes on their own without needing our team's assistance. So moving along, coming back to advanced mobile features. So as Mike said, there's a ton of data out there showing just the rise in mobile. According to Google, the number of smartphones has actually surpassed the number of personal computers. And so mobile can't be an afterthought to how we design our products and websites. Through CMS capabilities, we are able to develop mobile-first designs that retain the readability and usability. So as you're seeing on the left-hand side, you're seeing where we've taken a design and on the mobile site, everything still functions as it should, and we didn't have to create new content for that site. So like I said, AMP is automatically applied across all pages of our sites. So with the CMS, what that means is that our clients still only have to have one content base. They don't need to be worried about adapting their content or creating new content based on device type. And then lastly, with Milestone, our sites have an adaptive responsive design. So this means that based on the device type that the user is using, the server only delivers files that are required to render the content correctly. So this drives site speed way down. The notary site, which you're seeing on the left-hand side, loads in less than a second. So very similar to the example that Mike showed earlier. Having these AMP pages really benefits load time, ensuring that your end users are getting the client that they've clicked for immediately. So as Mike mentioned, Schema is both powerful and important. The structured data allows search engines to better understand your content and thus rank it more appropriately in search results. So schema.org also provides restaurant menu markup, which means, as you can see from the screenshot to the right, we can tag each individual menu item. So with this, there are two key benefits that we've experienced through using a CMS. The first is that we have a very user-friendly method for actually adding and editing the menu items. So we can upload menu items either by bulk uploading them to an Excel document or by dragging and dropping the items directly into the menu themselves. And then secondly, Milestone has built the structure of the schema directly into the platform, so clients are not adding this themselves. We have seen multiple successes with this implementation, and I'll showcase a few of these examples in the next couple slides. So first, here's an example of the site structure for one of our sites appearing in search results. So you can see the lightning bolt, our AMP site ranks first, which is providing the fastest user experience. And combined with the local listing, we own the entire above the fold space. So as many of you may know, either from your digital marketing experience or from your own search queries, users don't like to have to scroll very far to find what they're looking for. So owning this part of the search results is critical. So with this search for a restaurant's menu, you can see part of the menu appearing in a featured snippet. So we've included menu schema on both the homepage and menus page. So you can see an example of that homepage menu snippet to the far right. And the most important thing here is that our site, you can see that our site is ranking above TripAdvisor, OpenTable, Yelp, etc. And these are aggregators that usually do rank higher for these terms because they are providing menu content. But here we're owning those first three search results, which is huge. So in this last example, you can see a local search query for Michelin star restaurants in Geneva. I too would like to go to a Michelin star restaurant in Geneva. I wish this were my Google search. But you can also see starting with the left-hand screenshot, Google structured data testing tool. So by adding the URL for one of our sites, we can view and evaluate the markup. So you can see in that second slide, it'll show if there are any errors or warnings. It is important to have error-free markup to ensure you're seeing the full impact of your schema. But you can see that in that market, we've added a Michelin star, and so therefore we are feeding that information directly to Google, and we are also seeing that information appear in the search results themselves. So lastly, this sixth feature is being able to flexibly make changes or enhancements based on our evolving needs or the evolving needs of our clients. So we know that the web is constantly changing. If errors do arise for any of our sites, we can fix it quickly and can also deploy global fixes across all sites as necessary. And then lastly, with the Milestone CMS, we were able to launch a fully custom enhancement to ensure that we are aligned with Marriott internal standards. So for us, it is important that we're compliant with all ADA and GDPR regulations as well. However, we had a unique need to ensure that we are compliant with Marriott internal standards. So as you can see in the screenshot to the right, we developed, tested, and launched a workflow that requires a terms and conditions acceptance and a usage rights document for each image upload. And so with a CMS, obviously coding this workflow would have been very difficult. But through a CMS, we've been able to develop and test and launch this feature successfully. And with that, happy to answer some questions and or redirect them to Mike.
Awesome, really great. Happy to kind of dive into some questions. I think we have a good solid, maybe almost 10 minutes. So I want to kind of just jump into that. Real quick mention, do want to just mention we have another webinar coming up on October 23rd, same time, to talk about PPC trends. So if you're definitely interested in PPC at all or in the PPC game, I highly suggest you check out that. You can see the information on your screen. Other than that, just want to dive in. We have a number of questions kind of around schema, which doesn't really surprise me. It's one of those kind of hot topics right now. The first question I have is, and this is directly kind of reading it from the actual question itself. What are your thoughts on implementing schema markup for e-commerce in addition to the product schema? We did that already, but I'm thinking of like brand or how to, etc. What else should we be marking up?
Okay, so yeah, Mike, I'll go ahead and take a stab at that one. So yeah, I think you mentioned you've already done it for products, which is great. We have seen significant additional lift and other opportunities, but a key piece we've seen some great success with is looking at frequently asked questions. Because that's a great area to, especially with longer tail queries when it comes to Google searches, making sure that you are visible for those. If someone's asking a question about one of your products, maybe not specifically trying to buy it, but asking about things that you offer or things that your products do, having frequently asked questions section, whether it's on one part of your site or built in with each of the product pages, wrapping that in structured data will make sure that you are relevant to those. Because I think, again, any types of questions like that of how something functions is a great opportunity for a zero position response in the search results. And if you aren't the right response, or if you aren't the response there, your competitors will be. So that's a big area, folks. I'd definitely take that as an opportunity as frequently asked questions. Again, also thinking through making sure that you have the main schema in terms of your business, and are you individual branch and individual location, and if yes, you want to make sure that structured data is there so that people can find you when they're looking, driving and they're on their mobile device and want to get to you, or looking for stores that sell X, Y, and Z near me, or restaurants near me, ATMs near me, etc. So make sure you have that location piece. Also having larger organizational data in there so that it ties to a larger brand if you're part of a larger brand. So the short answer really is anything that you can have structured data wrapped around is great because it sends good signals to Google. It allows the search engines to understand the context, not only of what you sell or do, but within that larger environment. But again, in terms of getting a lift from search, again, FAQs are a big piece. And we did another webinar with SCJ recently on Schema. We have more information on that at blog.milestoneinternet.com as well. I have a lot more detailed answers of Schema pieces for you.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd throw in is that you should absolutely look at two things, right? Just to reiterate, Mike, I mean, you should walk through and really look at everything that's available, and anything that fits, you should be putting in there. You can also, check out that other presentation or just do some Google searches on like types of schema that should be implemented 2019, and you'll find a bunch of examples as well. Other thing, lastly, is just speakable schema. If it's really kind of been a new launch, and that in itself has really helped a lot to get into a lot of the feature sets. So definitely look at that. And also AMP is another thing that was mentioned that helps you a lot for getting into search results too. So definitely checking out all those. What is the recommended words for the question and answer type?
Recommended words for question and answer type.
I'm guessing they mean like, is there a certain way that you should, kind of set up that FAQ where those, those kind of things to where you're using like, specific question queries or?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good question. I mean, so there is a specific way that you need to build. If you're doing with Schema, you need to build the structured data in a specific way so that it's readable from Google. But I think, what you'll want in terms of how should you ask the question or how should you phrase the answer. I think a lot of that goes into your content of how is that question asked in general. And I think if you're using Schema and structured data, and wrapping the questions and the answers around that, it'll enable Google to understand that, so you can be relevant to queries that aren't necessarily that specific wording. But again, you need to think of what is it that you're trying to address? Is it a how-to, or is it a why does this? And so really understanding the context of what would a person be trying to understand and find when they're looking for it, and phrasing it that way. But really, from the structured data standpoint, making sure that your platform, your tool, whatever your implementation is, has the correct elements that are required so that you are actually getting indexed and getting the full benefit of that schema.
Awesome. Yep, agree completely. What about markup for delivery services like Instacart and things like that?
I think that it goes back to sort of the earlier question, and Schema, as Brent mentioned, Schema is adapting constantly. There are new things being added all the time, so that's why it can be challenging as a business to stay on top of Schema. So that's why using a platform that does that for you, so that as new Schema types are added, as the rules of what's required or recommended are adjusted and added, that you're working with a platform that will kind of do that for you, so that you as a business don't have to necessarily pay attention to that. So I think, to Brent's point, looking at what are all of the schema types available, do you have content that fits that type, and if yes, implement that schema. And so working with a platform that will enable that for you and is always adding and staying relevant with the latest schema types is very important.
Yeah, and I would reiterate again and again and again that where a schema is at today, you are not going to do it by hand. It's just not going to happen. I mean, we have Gutenberg type structures. You have things where you have to put schema on 10, 20 different elements on every single page, real time, dynamically. You're just not going to do it anymore. It's just beyond that point where you can go in and put a couple tags in there and have it be right. You absolutely have to have it integrated into CMS at this point. So I highly recommend, I can kind of reiterate that point specifically. There's a question here that's just like, what is AMP? Is AMP dangerous? Some believe that AMP is dangerous. It's not useful and things like that. So there's some questions out there about like, should we really be using AMP? Should we really be using PWA? I mean, the short answer is absolutely. But I want to let you maybe elaborate a little bit as to, could it be dangerous? Is there situations where it could be dangerous? Should people really be focusing on it, a little deeper?
Sure. I mean, I think in terms of could it be dangerous, I think what you want to focus on first is making sure that your core site is built and you have the main elements from an SEO standpoint. You have your main content pieces in there. Because any additional layer, any new technology, if not implemented correctly, can create problems. So you want to make sure that you're building newer technology on top of what already works and a strong base. I think the way that we've seen AMP being successful. AMP was initially launched by Google, focusing more on sort of news organization sites. But there is definitely some they've seen a positive impact across all industries. Again, you just want to think through though, why would I be implementing it, and does this make sense? Are there certain pages that make more sense that users find from search and that load very fast? I think it's really in terms of a dangerous standpoint, if you implement it incorrectly, you won't see any of the benefit of it. It could potentially break pieces of your site. So I think going back again from a schema standpoint is working with a platform that will enable that piece for you, and so that you need to think about what you're thinking about is your content, and your platform will ensure that your content is delivered in the correct technical aspect based on where the audience is searching for you, where your consumers are met.
Absolutely. Just one last comment again. I mean, the majority of all errors that we're seeing in SEO today are platform errors, like people going in and not understanding how to properly code, not understanding how to layer elements. I mean, almost all the major issues that we see in reviewing SEO case studies or at conferences are all based on that. Google is very capable of indexing and reading code. It's just that there's so many different layers and aspects that we're required to put into a website today that it's almost impossible to do this stuff on your own, unless you're extreme. Basically, you have to be a developer in order to do it on your own without having and relying on a good CMS. So again, I do, also co-sign that a good CMS is really important and essential. And I think we've kind of run out of time on the questions there. There's a couple last minute questions that were kind of in there that we didn't quite get to, but I do want to just let you know that we're going to send those over to Mike and to Elizabeth, have them kind of review those questions, maybe shoot back some answers to us, and we'll include those in the recap post that we're going to put on Monday, which will have again all the video, all the audio, all the resources that we need. So definitely want to thank both of you for coming on and sharing your knowledge and helping kind of drive people forward. Definitely thought it was very, very beneficial and useful, and appreciate everybody for joining the webinar.
Great, appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Brent. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Brent.